All right, and welcome back to the RoyalVision podcast. Today, we have another fantastic athlete airing from our women's golf team. She's from Stony Point, New York. She attended Albertus Magnus High School, and she actually won our Landmark Conference Individual Women's Golf Championship in 2023, and she was the Landmark Conference Player of the Year in 2023. Today, we have Maddy Buhler.
Thanks for having me, Alex. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on the show. So, how's your day so far?
It's going well. Post-snowstorm, kind of getting back into it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on Tuesday, we got hit kind of hard, but it only really impacted the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, you're from New York, too, so you understand the weather we get up here.
I do. Actually, my mom and sister had a snow day, but we only had half a snow day. So.
Yeah, so they got it much worse. And, I mean, honestly, good for them, because I was really holding out that we were going to get those the full classes off, but yeah, I guess we got to sleep in, right? So kind of going right into it, women's golf. What got you right into golfing?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I started when I was really little. I did the after-school programs in kindergarten, first grade, and I feel like it's kind of just been a part of my life ever since. My mom is the one who really pushed it. She really emphasized to myself and my sister that we want to be involved in activities that we can do for the rest of our life. So whether that's extracurriculars or sports, that's something she's really emphasized. And obviously 10-year-old me probably was like, yeah, whatever you say, Mom. But now looking back, I think it was really great advice. And I'm very grateful that golf has become such an important part of my life. It's opened a lot of doors for me, and I get to play it for the rest of my life, and that's really special. And so I went into high school. That's when I started to get a little more serious about it. I did the competitive tournaments. And I think I really made my biggest stride between junior and senior year of high school. In that summer, I played golf every single day. I was caddying in the morning, and then in the afternoon I would go out and play 9 or 18 holes. And I think just being surrounded by that much golf, I think just generally made me a better player. So I went into my senior season pretty confident, but we didn't have a senior season because of COVID. And obviously at the time, it was a bummer, but looking back, now I've gotten to play here, and I'm very grateful for that. So it's not too big of a deal. But that's kind of how I got into it. So, but coming into college, I didn't really have a great resume. So I really just was looking to make the team, honestly. And I was looking to, hey, maybe I'll play in a couple matches. I never would have believed that I've had the success that I've had. I never would have believed that it worked out the way it did. And so I look back and I'm just very grateful.
Well, you've definitely shown that you have the absolute ability to excel even your own expectations from what I'm hearing you say. What do you think exactly called you to golf? Because do any of your family members golf?
Yeah, I think my parents don't play golf. I have some extended family. My grandfather played, my aunt. And I think maybe when I was a kid, I looked up to them like, hey, I want to be able to play with them. But I think there was something that just kind of always drew me to it. I think the individual, like how individual it is. Obviously, it's unique. We do play within a team, but it's very much an individualized sport, and it's very much on you. Your teammates can't go out and take a shot for you. It's really all on you, and I think that it's very much a mental game as well, and it really makes you think, and I like that. I like how there's never two shots that are exactly the same, and yeah, I just think there's so many layers to it. And that's always what kind of kept me coming back.
Yeah, I definitely want to cut right into it. You just said it's a very individualized sport, and you got a really unique opportunity to play in the Landmark Conference, which was an individual championship. So tell me all about this experience.
Yeah, so last year we hosted the Landmark at Glenmara. So obviously very important there. You definitely have a little bit of a leg up when it's your home course. And so I think I knew going into it, if there was a year to do it, it was definitely last year. I know Glenmara, like it's kind of like the back of my hand. I'm up there every single day when we're in season. And so you go into it, but there's also the team aspect of it. And so you kind of have to balance that. But do you want me to dive into the championship itself?
Yeah, please, absolutely. All right, I'd love to hear all about it.
So yeah, last year up at Glenmara, so conferences is always a 2-day championship, and we have a practice round, but it's 2 days, your score over 2 days. And last year, actually, it's kind of a funny story because everyone talks about, so I shot 71 the first day, which was the best I've ever shot in competition. Obviously, I've gone low in practice, but an official round like that, that's not normal. So that really set me up for day two. But going into that tournament, I had actually been playing the worst golf of my college career.
Oh, wow.
Which a lot of people probably don't. They just see the 71. And it's like, but it was really, really tough. And actually, the match before that we had at Glen Mara, and my coach actually put it on the schedule as kind of a confidence booster going into conferences. And it was completely the opposite for me because I shot my worst score in college. And I remember feeling just so distraught, like just kind of lost. And I've never felt like that coming off of a golf course before. And so I think that really changed my mentality going into conferences. My parents were coming up and I told them, I don't have any expectations for myself. Obviously, I'm just going to go out there and try to do the best I can. I know Glen Mara, I know this course, but, whatever happens, happens. And look at what happens. I go out and I shoot. It's like a 20-stroke difference, and I shoot 71. Wow. So then going into day 2, I don't want to say it was my tournament to lose. This is a really, really competitive conference with really good players. But it was also coming over that mental roadblock of knowing I wasn't going to play as good as I played day 1 because it was 20 degrees colder. The pin placements were harder. It was windier. And so it was looking a little shaky there. Day 2, I think the front 9, I was definitely getting some nerves out. But on the last 9, I think I only shot like 1 or 2 over. And it was enough to hold out to win. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was shooting 71. I mean, it's easily one of the most special things I've done in my entire career here. I could probably relay that entire round back to you, every shot. It just is so fond in my memory. But yeah, just a special weekend all around.
Definitely a huge moment, and that's part of a pretty big year for you. Because you also were titled the Landmark Conference Player of the Year in 2023. So what that title, like, what does it mean for you specifically?
Yeah, I think that it's unique because a lot of it has to do with how you perform at conferences. But I think it's just, yeah, it's really special. I don't really, it's hard to believe really when I think back at that and kind of the doors that it opened for me. But I guess it's just kind of a culmination of all the work I put in. As I said, I didn't have a great spring season leading up to that. In the fall, I did okay, but I hadn't really had any major tournament wins. A lot of my other major tournament wins came freshman and sophomore year. But I think it's just a validation of the work that I was putting in. It kind of all luckily caught up to me when I got to conferences, and so yeah, it's really special.
Definitely, and that's a great title to have. And these 2 years next to each other, the 2022 and 2023, you were part of the conference first team honors, and we were just talking about how golf is such an individualized sport, right? It really means a lot to an individual person because I mean it's you putting in the work instead, and that goes for every sport, right? But when you're thinking about say a sport like soccer or basketball, there is a lot of teamwork involved. But getting these first-team honors, I mean, that was an all-team experience. So I'd love to know the difference from going into like a more individual tournament, like we just talked about with the Women's Golf Championship, to a landmark conference like this.
Yeah, I think it's just important, I think, to know that I wouldn't really be the player that I am without my teammates. I think we all collectively push ourselves, push each other to be better. I know that when I came in as a freshman, it's a tough transition going from high school to college. You're playing longer courses and you're out there for a longer period of time. You're playing multiple day tournaments, and I think it's hard to adjust. But I remember looking up so much to the upperclassmen. I'll have to shout them, Kate Pagano, Emma Nemitz. I really looked up to them, and they really kind of, I feel like, took me under their wing, and I wouldn't be the player that I am today if it wasn't for them, and I still look up to them. And now, we still talk every day, even though they're graduated. They're some of my closest friends. But now I'm in kind of a different position, and then I'm now the senior, and I'm seeing kind of a similar relationship with the underclassmen. And so now I have some knowledge to pass down to them. And so I think we go into every tournament, and we kind of just push ourselves, and we push each other. And I think it's really healthy. I wouldn't have had any of the success that I've had if it wasn't for my teammates. And so I really think it's important to recognize that.
Yeah, and going right into that, you are a senior, but you're also the team captain this year. What does being team captain really entail?
Yeah, I think because golf is so mental, I think a lot of it is being able to recognize when maybe your teammate is going a little crazy.
Right.
I've definitely been there. I've had people to have to kind of talk, I don't know, talk me off a ledge, but when you get in your head and you become a head case out there, I think that's when your teammates are so vital, because they can kind of talk you down and be like, hey, you still got a long stretch to go. You got to put it together, because golf is genuinely like 90-95% mental. And so I also think it's important, you can learn a lot from your teammates. I remember I mentioned Kate and Emma. When I was a freshman, I would say that I was definitely more of a reckless player. I really thought that I was like Tiger Woods and I could pull off some of these miraculous shots. And they kind of had to just sit me down and be like, listen, we're not professional golfers, and sometimes you're just playing for bogey, and doing the smart play is a lot better. And I think that's where I've grown the most as a player from freshman to now. I'm definitely thinking about those things more, and just playing for bogey. Again, it's Division III golf. We're not competing for anything, a major or anything like that. So I think being able to convey those lessons to your teammates as well is very important.
Yeah, and I mean, being team captain, you get to see your team honestly evolve, and you can imagine being in a place like that. You were even saying your freshman year how you looked up to the seniors on your team. What do you think would be your best advice to give someone who is just getting on the team right now?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I think you're going to struggle, at first, especially with that transition, but I think it's important to just keep with it and know that the work that you put in won't go unnoticed, and it will definitely pay dividends in the long run. I think I love golf, and that's what keeps me coming back, and that's what motivates me to practice every single day. But there are times when, especially when you're playing bad or you're having a bad stretch, where it can feel kind of useless. It's like, why am I doing this? But I think knowing that on the other side, it's always going to pay off in the end, I think that's really important. So I think I would, if I was talking to any freshman or a freshman year me, I think, keep putting in that work. And definitely you have to buy in. I think you can't put half of 50% into anything. I mean, that's how I approach anything in life, but you can't expect to have the same results if you aren't going to put in the work and put in, the time and effort. That's just not going to happen. And so I think that's kind of the mentality I've taken with golf, with academics, with everything. So I think it's really important.
You even mentioned it right there with the academics. We're obviously in a unique position to be, athletes, but as well as students, and that comes first, honestly, in many conversations. I was just wondering your unique perspective in being a student athlete.
Yeah, it is, especially because we're at a D3 school. I think I always say that, and this might come off, I don't know how it's going to come off, but I didn't come here to play golf. Golf has obviously been a really important part of my time here, and I'm so grateful that I've had the opportunity to play here. But I came here at the end of the day to get an education and to gain the skill set and knowledge to go out into the real world and start my career. Right. And golf has definitely made me a better student, and vice versa. But I've always taken academics extremely seriously, and I feel like I've always put the time and worked really hard to make the connections to make sure that I'm setting myself up post-grad, because, again, I'm not becoming a professional golfer. I do get to play golf for the rest of my life, but it's always just going to be that hobby and then that side thing for me. So I think that's how I always approached, school always has been the priority and has always come first for me. And, again, I'm glad that I've had golf as that complement, and it's definitely made me a better student. But, yeah, academics has always been number one.
My next favorite question to ask right after that is, what's your major?
I'm a finance major.
What are you doing when you're just not on the course, when you don't have any homework to do? When what are you doing other than golf and finance?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always tried to stay busy. I think you have 4 years here, and it might sound counterintuitive, but this is probably the most free time you're ever going to have. And so I've always tried to fill out my schedule and stay busy and just get out there. And so I kind of have, I think, my three realms at school. I definitely have my academics and my honors programs, and then I have golf, which takes up a substantial amount of time. But I also have my extracurriculars within the business school that I really enjoy, and most of them are finance related, but that's what I enjoy. So things like the investment club, I teach Wall Street boot camp this semester to freshmen and sophomores, and yeah, I think that's kind of how I divvy up my time amongst those three areas, and I think they all serve different purposes in my life, and they all complement each other well.
Definitely. And we were talking about the Glen Mara. You guys get this absolutely beautiful golf club that I keep hearing about. I would love to just hear more about it because, a lot of our athletes, they get, certain places, and we all have great facilities, but I hear nothing but outstanding reviews about the staff and about the place. So let me just hear more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I always like to say, like, if you don't like Glen Mara, like, you don't like golf. And maybe I'm biased because I did play really well there at conferences, and I genuinely just really like it. But yeah, it's a special course, and I think it can be very rewarding if you're on your game, and it can be pretty punishing if you're not accurate. And you're not even pulling out driver until the third hole because you have to be a little strategic. There's a lot of drop offs. There's a lot of gorges, and you're not hitting driver off of every tee box. So it really makes you think, and I think it's just a beautifully maintained. It's a real privilege that we have access to it every single day, and I definitely had tried to, especially going into my last semester here, I take advantage of that and be present. It's like I'm not going to be able to play here for for much longer.
Yeah.
So yeah, and everyone there is super nice. The members, again, you mentioned the staff, just all around great people, and yeah, I love going up there. Even if, and during the season I'm up there almost every day, and I'm not even necessarily playing golf every day or playing on the course. I'm at the range or chipping or putting or something like that. But yeah, just having access to that is fantastic.
You kind of already said you're using your time wisely. Not to sound dramatic here, but this is it. This is going to be your last career season. So I'm just wondering, what does this mean to you coming up into this season?
Yeah, it's such a good question, and it's something I've been thinking about a lot. And because everyone asks that, everyone's like, "Oh, it's the last go around."
Right.
And I think it's very bittersweet in the sense that I'm not overtly very sad. I think I look back on my time here, and I'm just so grateful with how everything has played out. Again, I think it's because I came into college with like little to no expectations of how my college career, my golf career would pan out. And so I look back and everything that I've accomplished and I've been able to win, and none of that seemed in the realm of possibility for freshman me. So I'm very much at peace with how everything has played out, and I think college is meant to be 4 years, and I've done it, and now I just kind of see it as this chapter of my life is coming to a close and a new chapter is beginning, and that's a really exciting chapter. I'm moving to a new city, and I'm starting a new job with new friends, and that's just really exciting. So there's so much to look forward to after graduation. So I'm staying present, and I'm going to enjoy these last few tournaments, but I think this is just kind of the natural progression of things. I think and the fact that I get to play golf the rest of my life, I think also makes it better, and it can be as competitive or as not competitive as I want it to be. But I maybe ask me again when I'm on my last match, and it's definitely going to be a little bit more emotional. But again, I'm very much at peace with it, and I'm just kind of staying present. And I'm going into it this season with, again, no expectations. I think I do better, as evidenced when I was talking about when I shot 71. I do better when I'm not putting a ton of pressure on myself, and I think I'm saying a lot of this because also mentally I'm in like just a really good spot. Senior spring, looking forward to what's happening post grad. So that what's going on mentally and off the course impacts a lot of what you're doing on the course. So yeah, I think I'm at peace, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited for the season to start. I'm excited for the snow to melt to get back out there.
Definitely a fantastic answer, and kind of wrapping things up here. It's definitely my favorite question to ask at the end, just because I get so many great answers and different stories. So, what's maybe a story that you can tell me that really helped shape you as a person for the rest of your career?
Yeah, I think it has to be that 71, but and specifically how I was talking about how I just played horribly beforehand. But I think maybe expanding on it a little bit, it's like, I think you can apply it really to anything in life, because not to sound dramatic, but it kind of just shows how you really should never get too down on yourself or really give up. I think it would have been really easy for me to throw in the towel after, playing back-to-back rounds of just horrific playing where have you ever even picked up a golf club before? That's what I would tell to myself. And I think it's really easy to get down on yourself, but I think then just showing how golf's a funny game and I think it imitates life a lot, and you never know what's going to happen. You never know when you're going to go out there and go really low and get lucky, in a sense. So I think I take that with me kind of really everywhere I go, and I keep that in mind. It's like the hard work that you put in. I do think I have somewhat of a hard work ethic. It definitely pays off in the end, and I think my coach has a lot to do with that as well. I didn't talk about really him a lot, especially when it came to my team, but he's such an important part of our team, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him. Obviously his golf resume is unparalleled, but I think he's just a fantastic coach, one of the best coaches I've had, and I think it's because he views us as people and not just players, and I think but you get the feeling that he genuinely believes in you, and I think even when you don't necessarily believe in yourself, and I felt that when I was going through that tough stretch. And so, again, I wouldn't have been able to win the conference or have any of these accolades if it wasn't for him. And so I think keeping all that in mind, he's definitely going to be one of the people I miss most about this place. And, I think that whole story of, the end of my junior spring and conferences, that's definitely the highlight of my career. And I can definitely apply it to other parts of my life, so.
Yeah, and I couldn't have asked for a better story for you to tell. I mean, fantastic. I was wondering if you had maybe any last words. It could be, to the Scranton community as a whole, to your team, any friends, anything like that.
Yeah, I've been because I listened to the other podcasts,
right.
And a lot of you're asking how to get people to come out to
Definitely.
games. I think it's tough for golf because it's very unique, and I could see how people would think it's boring. And honestly, if I didn't play golf, I'd probably think it's boring. But I do think it's certainly interesting and it's also tough because it's 4 or 5 hours.
Right.
And we're out there. But, if I think our team is fun to watch, the girls team, and especially the boys team. The boys team is so good. And I love playing with them. I love practicing with them. There's a reason they went to nationals. They're just, stacked from top of the roster to the bottom. And so I think coming out to Glenmara, even if you just for an hour and catch a couple holes, I think I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I've never met anyone who has regretted coming to, a golf match. My parents don't play golf. My mom does not play golf, never picked up a golf club, but she loves coming to matches, and I know it's probably because I'm playing, but she knows so much. Even when we watch on TV, it's amazing how much she's picked up. So all I hear is people oh, I wish I could get into golf. I wish I could do that. But I think it starts with, coming out and watching. So if you happen to be free on a weekend when it's nice in the spring, plus Glenmara is beautiful, and it's a great course to walk. So, I recommend checking it out.
It really is. I actually live not too far away from the golf course, and I love driving past, going to Montage. If that hasn't convinced you to come out, I don't know honestly what will. We even talked about it in I just interviewed Liam Burtis about it, and he had such outstanding reviews about it too. So come out and support these athletes. I mean, they're working hard those 4 to 5 hours. All you have to do is watch and cheer and support. So definitely come out. Be sure to look on the Instagram. You guys have a golf Instagram, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Definitely be sure to see out for all the matches coming up. I mean, we got some big seniors, and this is it for them. So they're going to show everybody they're all. Obviously, you're going with no expectations, but obviously that's how you excel. So I'll be there rooting you on. Can't wait to see it. That has been the Royal Vision podcast. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Alex. I really appreciate it.
Hey, absolutely. It was definitely fantastic. Love talking to you. Be sure to check out the Royal Athletics Instagram for more updates. I know coming up we're getting some basketball. Be sure to check out the golf Instagram. Be sure to check out the Royal Athletics Instagram. As always, I've been your host, Alex Taylor, on the Royal Vision podcast. See you next time.